Well, good morning, everyone. I said good morning, everyone. Whoa, all right. This is going to be a fun crowd. We're going to be able to do this. Welcome to Real Life. If you are tuning in online, thank you so much for watching, or if you're going to watch this later in the week, we appreciate that. We've almost made it through July. However, the smoke has come, has it not? Brewster yesterday, last night, 500 on the air quality index. They don't even have like a thing for that. It just says hazardous. Like stay inside, lock yourselves in, close your windows. But this morning, thankfully, the wind kind of pushed things out. We're at like 150 now, so still not good for everybody, but you can at least be outside a little bit. If you don't know me this morning, my name is Kyle Woelber. My wife and I, we moved to Brewster 13 years ago, and about 3 or 4 months into our time here, we found a home here at Real Life Chelan. We were at Real Life Chelan for about 5 years, and then we launched a campus in our community of Brewster. And we were part of that leadership team, a part of that launch team for about 8 years. And then now we find ourselves back here in Chelan. And so every now and again, I get the opportunity to get up here and share. And this is my first time on the big stage in where are my middle schoolers? 6 or 7 years. Yeah, pretty exciting to be up here. So thankful that I get these opportunities, and it's fun to be up in front of you guys this morning. As a part of Real Life, I've been in probably every service area you can imagine. I've done Real Kids. I was an elder here on the elder board for way too long. I've also been a part of the launch team of Brewster, the leadership team there. I helped lead that over the last year as we kind of transitioned to where we are now. So all that being said, you could say that I know Real Life. And because I know Real Life, I know the mission of Real Life, which the mission of Real Life is to help people who are far from God find real life in Christ. And so that is what we try to do every single Sunday. Whether that was here in Chelan, the 8 years we were in Brewster, converting the high school or the middle school into a church sanctuary, that's our mission. It's for those who feel far from God or who are far from God. And when we prepare our sermons, whether that be Pastor Kyle, Pastor Megan, I am not a pastor, Megan, but thank you for that little bit this morning. Whether it be me or Pastor Graham, that's our heart for our messages, is those who are far from God and those who feel far from God. And this morning, I want to make it clear to you guys, wherever you're at, whether this is your first time in church in a long time, or you've been coming here faithfully for the 13 or 14 years that Real Life has happened, God is not far from you. In fact, God is a lot closer than you think He is. So we're going to continue with our Summer in the Psalms series that we've kind of taken on. And the cool thing about this sermon series is you don't have to be here every week for it, because there are 150 different Psalms, and Pastor Megan and Pastor Kyle and I have kind of taken on one each week, and each sermon is really kind of a standalone, right? So you could show up 1 week and then miss 2 weeks, and you'd miss good preaching, but you really wouldn't miss the line of the sermon that's happening, or the sermon series that's happening. Now, 150 Psalms, lots of different topics, lots of different themes, lots of different artists doing it, and it's really neat being able to kind of walk through each of them and see the different styles, the different flares, the different ways that the authors have done it. When Kyle introduced this 2 weeks ago, he laid it out that really we want to think of these as songs. And all the artists kind of compiled and wrote down these songs, and then we put them into the book of Psalms. I don't know if you guys know anything about songwriting, but in my early 20s, I dabbled in Christian hip-hop music. Yes, I know, it's a shocker, and I'm here to admit it was a part of my life that I'm now willing to say I did it, and I made it through it, and I'm better because of it. I'll show you guys a couple pictures here. Some of you have heard me referred to as K-Dub from the stage. Now, when I moved to Brewster from Cheney, where K-Dub was it, I was really trying to escape that. I wanted to become Mr. Woelber. I became a teacher. I wanted to become a professional. And then, do you guys know Eric Ramiro? Eric Ramiro and I went to college together, believe it or not. And the minute I walked into real life and he saw me, he goes, K-Dub. And there it is. It's back again. You can see in those days, everything was bigger and baggier. So those jerseys and T-shirts are about 2XL. I'm a schmedium at best. I wore headbands just because. Like, not because I was working out or like doing basketball things. Like, I just wore them. And believe it or not, I was wearing this stuff when I met my wife. And she like agreed to marry me and has been with me since. Now, the jerseys still come back every now and again, and she is not a big fan of them, but it is still a part of my life that I just can't let go. Now, as embarrassing as this is to admit to you guys, it was a really fun season of my life. I got to do some really cool things. I got to perform in places and meet some people that really I probably had no business being a part of those circles, yet it happened, and so I'm thankful that I got to do it. Maybe some of you guys have heard some of my classics, such as Preaching Out of My Backpack, The King is Coming Back, Wait a Minute, or one of my personal favorites, Get Low. Now, Get Low came out about the same time as another song about getting low, but I promise they have nothing to do with each other. They are very, very different songs. But the thing I loved about writing music was the creative process. Being able to kind of sit down with my thoughts and my ideas and put them to beats and to rhymes and to melodies. And my writing process when I was doing the Christian hip-hop thing was very simple. I just always had a little notebook or a little piece of paper with me, and whenever rhymes would come to my mind, I'd write them down, or concepts or little melodies would come. I would just jot them down in this notebook. And if you were to find my college notebooks, I promise you'd find a lot more rhymes written than actually notes about the class, but that is another thing. Kids who are in college, take good notes, all right? They're important. But with hip-hop music, it always came down to the hook. What is going to be the thing that draws people in to what you're saying or what you're performing on the stage? What's that going to be that thing that people repeat back to you at the show? What's going to be that line that when people go to their cars after the show, they're humming in their minds, or the next morning they wake up and they can't get it out of your head? And the book of Psalms is a lot like that. Except the thoughts and ideas that they're kind of bringing in the Psalms, they're these lasting ideas about God. These things that the artist, these truths that the artist of these Psalms, they want us to hold in our hearts and our minds when it comes to God. And this morning, we're going to take on Psalm 139. And as we do that, I want you guys to keep in mind that this psalm is all about control. So, in a rap song, there are these things called bars. Now, a bar is a simple rhyme in the rap song. So when you have two lines that rhyme together, that is a bar. I know I've lost half of you guys, but I promise this is coming back around. It's going to come back around this morning. So as we look at Psalm 139, we're going to break it down in the bars, okay, in the verses that the author David gives to us. And at the end of every verse, we're going to do a little hook together. So I hope you guys are ready this morning. Buckle up in your seats because we're going to do a little hook together. I know my high schoolers are going to rock with me a little bit this morning. All right, you guys ready? So the hook is this: who is really in control? Can you guys do that little melody with me? Can we do it together? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Who is really in control? All right, now you guys do it when I point to you. Ready? Who is really in control? Let's go. That's what I'm talking about this morning. You guys are on it. Okay, so as we finish each verse, we're going to say that together in sort of bringing back my early 20s hip-hop mindset here. So we're going to start with Psalm 139, and we're going to go verses 1 through 6. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You hem me in behind and before and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful me. It is high, I cannot obtain it. Who is really in control? Wow, I thought that was going to take at least like a couple verses. Nicely done. Now, this idea of control is really an interesting thing. And it isn't just like big G God that we're talking about this morning. This is for anyone who believes that there may be something bigger than you kind of helping control or dictate what is going on around you. Some may say this is how the universe works, right? The universe is just working all things around me. Some might say like this is a higher power, this is a higher being. And others may say, right, this is the bigger thing inside of myself, right? There's something bigger in me that is just helping how things go. And this morning, we're going to look at two ways to start of how most people, regardless if you're a church person or not, handle life when it comes to control. The first way that we handle control is we do nothing, right? We believe that there's something bigger than us, and I don't need to worry about anything at all. I can sit back and I can just let whatever happen because that's how it's going to be, that's how it always was, and that's how it's going to happen. And I think of this story that I tell my kids all the time. One time, there was this guy, and he got trapped in the middle of the ocean. And he's sitting there floating in the middle of the ocean. And he says this prayer to God. He says, God, I need you to save me. Take care of me, God. So a few minutes later, this boat comes by. And the guy says, hey, you need some help? And the guy's floating in the water, and he says, no. God's going to take care of me. Boat drives off. All of a sudden, this cruise ship comes up. Guy's floating in the water. Says, hey, man, you need some help? He says, no, God's going to save me. Cruise ship goes off. Third boat comes up. It's a rescue raft. Shows up. Hey, buddy, you need some help? Guy says, nope, God's going to save me. Well, the guy drowns and dies. I know, oh, sorry, geez. Oh, I know, sad. Don't feel bad for the guy. Anyways, here we go. He dies. He goes to heaven. He gets to heaven and he's storming mad at God. He waltzes right up to God. He says, God, why didn't you save me? I asked for you to save me. And God looks at him and says, I sent you 3 boats, you dummy. And it may not be this direct in your life. My high schoolers did not appreciate that joke. I promise. My young kids, they laugh every time. But some of us are just sitting around waiting for something to happen. Just expecting it to happen because that's the way we think it's supposed to be. The second way that we handle control is we do everything. You're not going to let someone else take control for you. So you're going to white-knuckle your way through life. You're going to have your hand in anything and everything that goes on around you. And if I'm being honest with you guys this morning, this is where my control pendulum swings. I have a hard time letting go of control. So rather than trusting others to help me out or trusting in a bigger plan or purpose, I just white-knuckle it all. And I take on way too much. Whether that be my job, whether that be my kids, whether that be my wife. I mean, you name it, I try to shoulder it all myself. And for those of you who may be a little bit like me this morning, this way of living is exhausting. You wake up tired. You go to your job tired. You come home, you play with your kids tired. You be a spouse tired. You go to bed tired. And then you wake up and you do it all again. This is exhausting. And I can personally say, as I'm now well into my 40s, that this is a hard way to navigate life. And this has really been hard on me the last 2 years as I've realized that I try to do too much. I have seasons where I just lay in bed just hoping that I can find rest. I'm just so overdone with things, the control issues that I have. But yet I just lay and I stir and I can't rest. Have you guys ever been there? You guys ever had that feeling at night where you just can't shut your brain off? You know how important sleep is, right? I know all the science behind it, right? Sleep is really important. But I'm just worrying. I'm wanting to control this. I'm wanting to control that. and I just can't sleep. But what if this morning, Psalm 139 is trying to tell us something about the control issues that we have in our lives? What if today, July 26, 2026, we begin to look at maybe this idea that it's okay for someone else to have the control of our lives? On July 26, 2026, we begin to say, it's okay that I can't do it all. And it's okay that you can't do it all. That there may be someone, and this is where we get a little churchy, there may be someone bigger than you who's willing to help. And there's actually someone bigger than you who's able to control it, hold it together better than you can. What if I'm up here this morning to tell you that you aren't made to do it all? In fact, when Big G God created you, He didn't create you, He didn't create me to white knuckle our way through lives and worry about every little thing that goes on around us. Could you relax a little this morning? Could maybe you let your shoulders sit down as you take a deep breath? Could you take your phone off your knee and put it in your pocket? Uh-oh. Could you maybe turn it off and just let it sit and just be? So I ask you this question: who is really in control? Psalm 139, 7 through 12 says this: where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light be about me be night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as day, for darkness is as light to you. And so I asked you, who is really in control? You with me? I appreciate that, man. You know, the thing I love about this psalm that David gives us is he's not calling us to bow before this control, this person who controls us, this bigger piece that controls us, and just let it dominate our lives. The beautiful thing that David shares with us in this psalm is the third way that we can look at this control, and that's God's control. See, God's control is a partnership. God didn't design us in the beginning, in the Garden of Eden, to be these robots who just say and do what He wants all day, every day. No, God created you with personality. God created you with style. God created you with imagination. God created you with this spirit and this spunk and this flair. See, at no point does David say God does, but again and again, David says God is. So hear me. God is with us in our lives. God is with us in the challenges in our families. God is with us in the challenges in our marriages. God is with us in the challenges that we face in our country. God is with you in the challenges, and you fill in the blank on that one. The control that God has for us and in this world, it's a partnership. We get to work alongside God in it. And there's no greater example of this than Jesus. And if you're a Christian in this room this morning, you have this faith, this belief that Jesus was 100% God when He was on this earth. And then there's this other piece that we have where we believe that Jesus was 100% man. Now, how that works, you can set up a meeting with Pastor Kyle or Pastor Megan, and they'd be happy to explain the Trinity and all that stuff. But I'm just here today to tell you that Jesus is the example when it comes to this idea of control. So we're going to take a look at how Jesus handled the most intense moment maybe in human history. It was the night before Jesus was wrongfully accused. The night before he would be beaten and bloodied and forced to carry a heavy cross on his shoulder up to the top of the hill that he would eventually be crucified on for the world to see. And that night before, Jesus, he was up late. And I get that. I get those nights where I'm restless and can't sleep. It says the moment was so intense on Jesus that he was actually sweating blood. I don't get that one. It's a science thing. There's biology behind it that when your body's under intense stress, anxiety, that your body can actually react physically by sweating blood. And this was happening to Jesus. And Jesus was having a conversation with God. The same God that David's talking about in Psalm 139, when David said, "If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there." And Jesus, in this moment when he's talking to God, in Luke 22:42 says, "Father, if you're willing to remove this cup from me," Jesus knows what's happening. He knows what's coming next. "God, if you can take this from me, please." Right? And in this moment, I kind of wonder if Jesus was like, I'm God, right? I could remove this from myself. Yet he goes to his Father and he says, "If you can take this from me, please do." But then he says, "Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done." In a moment in human history when I think most of us would probably have been okay if Jesus would have said, "Look, I'm going to do my God thing now, right? I'm going to take charge of this, right? I'm going to rewrite how this is going to go." Jesus didn't. He stopped. Even in this intense moment where blood is coming out of his pores, and he says, "I know who's in control. I know my dad's got this. And I know he's got a better plan here. Is this going to be hard? Yeah. Probably one of the hardest moments in human history. But Jesus knew it will be better and it will be worth it." And that takes us to Psalm 139:13, where David says, "For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb." And so we ask, see, God's control is not only a partnership, God's control is also personal. David, he says, "me and my." Those are personal. See, he could have made it generic, but he didn't. He made it personal to him because he knew it needed to be personal to you and it needed to be personal to me. God knows you. He knows what's best for you. And this is probably the hardest thing for me. He knows what's best for my life. God knows what's best for my family. God knows what's best for my kids. And God knows what's best for my church. God knows what is best. And this is where the rubber meets the road when it comes to this faith thing. Are you willing to trust that God knows best and release control of the plans and purpose that you feel like are best and give it to Him? And this last year, this was a giant tug of war between me and God when it came to the Real Life Brewster campus. If I'm doing what God called me to do, if I'm doing what I believe God wanted to happen in the Brewster community, why would it come to an end? Why would God not step in after 8 years of ministry, after 8 years of building this thing in our community, and not bring us a pastor or a leader who would take our church to the next phase, to the next 8 years, to the next 80 years? And if I'm being honest with you guys, I struggled with this a lot. And if I'm being fully transparent, I am still struggling with this. But do I trust God's control over this situation is personal? Do I trust that God cares about me in a situation where it seems like we failed? And even when it's hard, do I trust that God has a bigger plan for whatever he's doing next with Real Life and whatever he's doing next with Brewster? Last winter was when the real struggle was for what to do next for the Brewster campus. And everyone was wrestling. The Real Life Brewster team was wrestling. The elder board was really wrestling. I mean, it was one of the few times that I was a part of the elder board, and I was on the elder board for like 20 years. I think it was 7, or maybe it was 6. My wife and I were struggling. The Brewster team was having a hard time, and I felt really pressed, like, we need to hear God's voice in this. If we're going to make a decision on what to do next, like, we need to hear what God's saying in this. And I don't know if you guys know Terry Dole, but she is one of the most wonderful people that you'll ever meet. If you don't know her, give it up for Terry. She's amazing. If you don't know her, meet her. She is so kind. She is so sweet. And she had the biggest heart for the Brewster community and the Real Life Brewster Church. And she showed it by showing up about once a month, loving on the people. Whenever we needed someone to kind of step in and serve, she would be there. I mean, she is truly just one of the best people. And last winter, I felt it pressed on me that she was going to be the voice that I needed to listen to. Right? If anyone was going to speak clear on behalf of God, sorry for that pressure, Terry. If anyone's going to speak clear on God's behalf, like, I just felt pressed that it was going to be Terry. She had this amazing ear for the Lord. I knew she loved our community. I knew she loved our campus. And I just felt like she was going to be the voice to listen to. So I entrusted her. And I gave her that spiritual authority in my life where I said, Terry, it's going to be you. I talked to Pastor Kyle Woelber first to make sure it was okay. He said, yeah. I talked to Terry. She received it. She said, yeah. And I knew that I could trust her to be really listening for what God was going to do next. And it was probably April. It was right after my family got back from spring break where we spent down in Boise. And Terry called me. And I was so proud of Terry because she said, you know, I think this might be the end for the Brewster campus. And I heard it. And I listened and I received it. And I thanked her for being willing. I know that had to be hard, and I was proud of her for doing it. But when I got off the phone, I was like, really, God? Maybe I heard you wrong, right? Maybe you meant Sherry or Mary that I should have been listening to. Maybe it wasn't Terry. But there was a time where I just kind of allowed it to process in my mind and allowed myself to really just sit in what had been shared with me, what I had believed and asked God to do. And there was this moment where I went to God and I said, is this really it, God? And God said, I sent you a boat, you dummy. Right? You asked for it. Here it is. Even when our plans don't 100% match up with God's plans, we have to be like David in Psalm 139:14, when he said, I praise you, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. Even if my mind doesn't 100% get it, which, as I shared with you, it doesn't. Right? It doesn't add up. My soul knows it very well. That God's plans are bigger than I know. God's ways are better than I know. So I ask you guys one more time to repeat it with me. Who is really in control? Check out this video.
My Bible app, right? I'm not making this up. This is straight up. The Lord knows He's connected, and I'm fully aligned right now, right? So I was reading on my Bible app because I said I want to finish the Bible. I want to read the whole thing, right? Wow. So I had it. I was reading my Bible app, but it didn't feel right because every time you're on your Bible app, you get all these distractions. Yeah. You got Instagram, you got Facebook, you got all these things coming up. And I said the Word of God should not be limited to an app. So I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself a hard Bible like I had when I was a kid, you know? Yeah. And look, that ain't even the punch, y'all. It ain't over. Now, my Bible was blue. My Bible was blue. It had Jared A. Farrell on it. I said, I'm going to get myself a Bible like that. I was in Columbus, Ohio, and it was the Friday night show, and the show was supposed to be canceled, right? This is a month before I was about to get the Bible. The 10 o'clock show, the tickets picked up miraculously, right? There was a pastor that drove all the way from, I think it was Tennessee, and he didn't get in, but he stayed outside of the show. He came up to me after the show. He goes, God told me to give you this. It was a blue Bible with my name on it. And here's the kicker. I can't make this up. I cannot make this up. And the Bible was bookmarked at the exact mark that I stopped reading on my Bible app. Absolutely. I said, okay. I said, all right, I'm going to get myself together. You know what I mean?
So we ask again, who is really in control? And it's not a hard thing when you hear stories like this to realize there's something bigger going on. Even the hard stories, it's not hard for us to say there's something bigger going on. Here at Real Life, we have these things called next steps. You can find them on your little blue card. They're also on the little handout there. And next steps are great because a lot of times, and a lot of times when you're in church, you hear a message and you just kind of walk out. The thing I like about next steps is they're practical, right? It's something that you can check or write down and say, okay, here's something that I can at least take into the week, take into the month, take into the next year, whatever it is. And as I said, they're on your blue card. It's always kind of fun when you got a guest speaker at a church that the blue cards fill up in the box. It makes Pastor Kyle be like, dang, okay, all right, things are happening when I'm on, all right. So if you guys want to, check a box on there, if you'd like to, write a comment, where can I get K-Dub's music? Google it. My students find it every year somehow, some way. The internet is forever. Maybe you got a prayer request, something on your heart, on your mind, and you just want to jot it down. And we do have a team that looks over those and really faithfully prays for the things that you write down. They're not just something you get dropped in the box, but they do get, looked over, prayed over when it comes to situations you're facing. So the first next step I have for you guys this morning is see the boat. And maybe this isn't some random pastor driving 2 hours to meet you on a cold night to hand you a Bible. Maybe that's the extreme boat that we're talking about. But look around your life right now. Are there things happening, people around you, situations maybe going down, where you can see maybe there's something bigger happening? As you look back over the past year of your life, can you see maybe some boats showing up? I got this dude, his name's Jerry D. I met him when I was K-Dub, and so I call him Jerry D still to this day. He's a great friend of mine. I met him in Eastern Washington University. We were taking a sex and gender class as part of the women's study credit that we had to get. Interesting class. But Jerry was just a strong Christian dude, loved Jesus, and was really had an evangelistic heart. He loved to go out and tell people about Jesus. And Jerry would invite me weekly to this campus ministry known as Campus Crusade for Christ. And I got to be honest, I probably blew Jerry off like 12 times, right? I probably would tell him, yes, I'd go, and then I wouldn't show. But every single week he'd come back. Hey, man, we missed you last week. Maybe you'll come this week. Oh, yeah, I'll think about it. Wouldn't go. Right? Next week he'd show up. Hey, man, we got this thing going on. You should come. Jerry D was my boat, right? Because Jerry D was that guy that if he wouldn't have invited me over and over again, I don't know if I would have stepped foot in Campus Crusade for Christ ministry at Eastern Washington University, which is where I got introduced to the love and grace of Jesus in a very real way. And not just people talking at me with words, but with people around me who truly lived out their faith and they believed in Jesus and they lived it out by the way that they had. Jerry D wasn't the guy that saved me, but he's the boat that got me to the Savior Jesus. So I encourage you guys, look to the people around you. I encourage you to ask the people around you. And if you get asked, you better be ready to answer. I encourage you to ask the people around you, what are the boats in their lives? What are those moments, where are those moments when God made himself real? Where it wasn't just stories in a book, but it was like, look, God did this. God showed up. I don't know how I was going to get through this situation. I don't know where the money was going to come from. And it showed up. I was so sick, I didn't know how I was going to get out, and I got better. My marriage was so tough, and we were struggling, but now we're the happiest we've ever been. Man, ask those questions. And I encourage you guys, if you get asked, share your stories. I know it's hard. Right? It's hard, but hard things are okay. Next step is acknowledge a better plan. If you're here for the first time this morning, so happy that you guys are joining us. But could it be this isn't just a random stop in a church on a Sunday morning in Chelan, Washington? Maybe God's tuning your heart a little bit here. Maybe there's a reason you're sitting in here this morning and not what you were supposed to do. Maybe there's a reason the smoke came and you couldn't get out, right? Maybe there's a reason you're here this morning. And I'm not asking you to cannonball into this faith thing this morning, right? You don't have to fully jump into it, but at least start thinking, is there something bigger going on in my life? Is there something bigger than me that's acting alongside me? Maybe God's trying to get your attention. But it starts with you acknowledging the fact that maybe there is something bigger than you happening. And the thing I love about my relationship with Jesus and God is he doesn't make it very hard. This partnership that we have, he's done all the work. It's just about you coming alongside him. Which leads us to our next step, which is trust, or the third step, which is trusting in God's control. The last piece here is taking a step beyond just acknowledging the bigger plan or purpose for your life and trusting that that's God's plan and God's purpose for your life. We have a saying here at Real Life that Jesus makes your life better and makes you better at life. Doesn't fix everything, doesn't solve all your problems. But as David has shown us this morning, he is with you in all of those problems. He is with you in all of those situations. He's right at your side to help you through them. From the highest mountain on planet Earth to the deepest ocean that we can't even go down how deep God is already. God is with you. So maybe this is your morning. Maybe this is your day where you put your trust in the one who's already with you. And he's been with you the whole time. And you begin this partnership, living the best life that God had planned for you, even before you were born. Guys, pray with me this morning. Lord, I thank you so much just for the opportunity to share your word. I thank you for the reminders in my own life of the times where you were in control, when I thought I knew better, and you reminded me that your ways are better and your plan is bigger. God, I pray for Real Life as a whole, that we would continue to walk in the plans and the purposes that you have for our lives. God, for anyone sitting in this room this morning who maybe this faith thing is kind of new, they would at least start looking around and saying, maybe God's doing something. Maybe there's a reason I showed up this morning. Maybe there's a reason this person got placed in my life. Maybe this is my Jerry D. Lord, I thank you so much for your hand continuing to be upon my heart. I thank you for how you're shaping me. Even at 42 years old, you're continuing to shape me. And I pray, God, you would shape the hearts and the minds in this room to be more like you each and every day. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, just a quick reminder, if you got kids, your big kids are going to be out having a Sunday Fun Day extravaganza. And if you got kids in the nursery, they're going to be down in the classrooms. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for rocking with me, all you guys in the audience, and have a great Sunday.